Hello, friends. Are you ready?
What's for dinner?
I'm hungry.
Yum, 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 yum.
Delicious.
Let's go, everybody. Yay! Oh, gosh. Am I on?
Yeah. Camera, lights, action.
Greek-style baked lima beans. Gigantes Plaki. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. And this should be a short recipe. This should be a short video. Unless I talk my knee off, because I don't want to use other words, children may be watching. You guys get what I mean. So, if you need to reach me, zoesblindkitchencorner@gmail.com or Victor's email, whoseblindlifeisanyway@gmail.com. If you like this recipe, please like and share the video or subscribe to our channels. I keep saying this. I would love feedback. If anybody out there makes one of these recipes, let me know. I got a wonderful comment from, forgive me if the name is incorrect, I think her name was Kim. And she just basically said, I love your recipes and I love the stories you tell and all this. That's encouraging to me. That gives me strength to go on. It gives me incentive. If I know there's people out there who like my recipes or the way I do things or whatever, it gives me incentive. And I thank you, Kim, and thank you for all my subscribers, and thank you to everybody for your support. So today we're going to make a recipe. It's another vegan recipe, and we love those because, it's not good to have meat all the time. So we're going to make a bean recipe. Why do I say bean? I'll explain. Growing up, I wasn't the biggest bean fan. I mean, I kept on thinking my mom keeps making beans, But in my late teens, I got served, maybe it was a little earlier, it doesn't matter. I got served a certain bean recipe that I felt was different from the others. And I fell in love with it. So this was one of the, when I started to cook, this was one of the first recipes I learned how to make. Not the first, but one of the first. Because one, it's easy. Two, it's delicious. Now, I'm sorry, but the lima beans sold in the supermarket, they're really tiny. Those aren't going to work for this recipe. This particular recipe in Greek is called gigantes. That's actually the word for giant. Well, gigantas is the singular form, and it means giant. Gigantes, changing the A to a E sound, is plural, and it basically means giants. That's what this recipe is called, and what it is baked lima beans. I actually have the package here. I don't know, at least for the sighted people, maybe, is this package see-through?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe until we open the package, or when I open I'll show you. The lima beans are fat, and they're a little smaller than a quarter maybe, but they're more like an oval shape. So they're big lima beans. Is this the right way of the package? Yeah. So this is imported from Greece, but I actually got somebody to read me the package before we came on camera. So the company that imports this is called Fandis, and they're they're importing from Greece to New Jersey. And then from New Jersey, they're sent to Canada. So imagine what these beans go through. Yeah. Anyways, this brand is called Tria Alpha, and that's a Greek name. It's the letter 3, and then the word alpha in Greek. So the letter 3 in Greek is Tria, and then alpha means the letter alpha, but it's spelt out. So it's not just a 3 and an A, it's a 3 and the word for alpha spelled out. I will write it in English. There are other brands. For example, one that comes to mind I think is Niki. But if you go to a Greek bakery / supermarket, as I've said many times, you just ask them for Gigantes, which I will write that in the description box, like giant lima beans, and then in parenthesis it'll say, I'll spell it in Greeklish, so I'll spell the Greek word for Gigantes, but with English characters. This is a 500-gram bag. I have to tell you that my favorite beans of these I get from when I go to Greece. I can't remember the brand, but it's a supermarket in Athens. I'm not telling you guys to go in Athens. I'm just telling you my experience. In Athens, there's a supermarket that sells all organic products. Sometimes people say to me, is there a difference between organic and conventional food? In some cases, there is. For example, these particular beans, when I go to Athens and I get them, the organic beans, and the famous place in Greece that these beans come from is called Prespa. These are the best beans you can get. And when I cook those up, the skin of the beans don't fall off. These ones, that may happen. And the organic ones just, they boil up really well and they're really good and they taste like, it's almost like, I don't know. They're just delicious, but I can't get those. I can't go to Greece every summer and sometimes I get relatives to send me, or if somebody goes to Greece, I tell them if it's convenient, they're in Athens, I tell them to bring them back for me. Right now I don't have any more. I've finished them off. So that's the story behind the beans. If you do try baby lima beans, let me know. I don't think you'll get the same texture and taste, but by all means go ahead. If you can find giant lima beans at your supermarket, then we're laughing. I think when I was younger at a supermarket, in the international section, I had found them. But again, you'll have to go to a really big supermarket if you don't have a Greek bakery and try to find them. Okay, so this recipe is really easy. I don't have a lot to show you. I'll tell you the ingredients. We have a cup of olive oil over here, which I've already measured out. I have a whole bunch of parsley, finely chopped. Am I going to use the whole bunch? We'll see. 2 red, you could use yellow, it doesn't matter, whatever you want. 2 medium onions, sliced up. 3 bunches of fresh green onions. Now again, if you want, you could use just the fresh green onions. Some people don't put the extra, the balls of onions, the hard onions. You could do 4 bunches of green onions and not put the hard ones. It's up to you. We have 2 packages of beans over there, which are, so 1 kilogram altogether. A tablespoon of sea salt or to taste. A couple of pinches of pepper, black pepper. 1 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. A heaping tablespoon of tomato paste and water. That's it. And I'm not a bean soaker. I've told you guys this before. So I'm going to pre-boil my beans. If you want to soak them overnight, go ahead. When they go in the oven, they should be crisp tender. Okay? So I'm going to grab the beans, move over to my stovetop. Got my non-stick pan. It doesn't matter at this point what you're going to use. Non-stick pan on the burner. Burner's off. And again, I forgot to get a scissors. Hold on. Okay. And so I went to pull I snipped off the corner and I went to pull the bag open and it over opened on me and I lost a few beans. It's okay. So I'm just gonna pour the dried beans right into the pot, and I just want to show you now that I actually have one in my hands. So here's a bean. It's oval shaped, sort of, and it's, I don't know, it's about an inch, at least an inch, I would say. It's an inch long, and they're fat. So big beans. And we'll open up the second bag, and hopefully this time we won't lose any. And again, I'm gonna snip off the corner. And what I did is I went to pull off the snipped part and it opened, but now it didn't. Good, okay. And actually I'm gonna do it over the pot just in case. All right. Okay. So all our beans are in our pot. And we'll get rid of the scissors off the stove before we turn it on and we have an accident. And I'm just going to pour water into the pot. I'm just grabbing my jug. You guys know by now I don't use tap water. Tap water is fine if that's what you want. And I'm just going to pour water into the beans. This needs plenty of water. And like I've told you guys before, because this is my non-stick pot, I use my knob from the handles inside the pot as a guide. So that's it for the water. Now, these should take at least an hour to become crisp tender. So I'm going to turn up the heat to high. And once this comes to a boil, I'm going to set the timer for an hour, but I'm going to check on them. Because as I've told you guys before, different beans from different countries, from different climates, there's no set time. This might be a fresh, good batch of beans, and they might be ready in 45 minutes. Or they might be ready in an hour, or an hour and 15 minutes. So, there's nothing left for me to do right now and show you guys. So, we'll be back when these are crisp tender, and we're ready to move on to the next steps. Okay guys, so we're back. So our giant lima beans, gigantes, have been boiling for an hour and 20 minutes. I did try them at the 45-minute mark. They were really hard. I tried them at the 1 hour mark. I was able to bite into them, but they were not crisp tender. They were crisp. I don't know how else to call them. Anyways, and I tried them now and they're easy to bite into. They're still not done, so they're easy to bite into, but they're not melt in your mouth. So they're crisp tender. So I'm just gonna, I've turned off the heat and I've turned off the burner. I'm picking up the pot and moving over to the sink with the beans. Very hot stuff. Again, be careful. I'm balancing it at the edge of my sink. I'm gonna remove the cap. Lots of steam, so be careful. I've got the strainer in my sink. I just moved the pot a little bit to the right so I can make sure that my strainer is touching the edge of the sink, and it is. So I'm just going to tip them into the strainer. And I'm going to stop because the steam is coming up and it's really bad. And I'm going to go again. And we should have gotten them all out. They're, like I said, we can run cold water in here and check to see if they're all out. I'm pretty confident they're all out. Maybe there's one, who knows. I'm pretty sure. If I want to, I can run cold water and stick my hand in here and find out if there is any. So I'm just gonna set the hot pot on a cold burner. And the beans are in my strainer. I'm using my big square lasagna pan. Probably about 13.5 inches by 15 inches, something to that effect. So big square lasagna pan. And I'm gonna pick up my beans, give them a shake, and I'm gonna dump them right into the pot. And I'm just gonna check they're all out. Okay, put the strainer back in the sink. Now, I'm preheating my oven to 350. So, beans are in, and they're hot. Doesn't matter. I've got my fresh green onions, dump them all in. Okay, those are in. And I've got my, what are these called again? My regular onions, red onions that I've sliced up and dump it in the pan. Those are all in. And I need a spoon. I'm just spreading out the I'm just spreading out the mixture. And don't worry about mixing it all up. You will mix it up later. I'm just spreading it out because I had a big mountain in the middle. Okay. And I just dropped a few onions out of my pan. Okay. Now, parsley. In this dish, it needs a lot of parsley. You want to put half a bunch in? Put half a bunch. You want to put a whole bunch? Put a whole bunch. You want to put a few handfuls? It's up to you. But the dish itself does need a lot of parsley. If you could see, so I'm just sprinkling it over the top. And I'm going up and down the pan so I can kind of determine where I'm getting it. So I'm sprinkling it. If you could see, parsley is the color green. And I'm sorry for those of you who don't know what green is. Well, it's a beautiful color of nature. And you want your dish you want to be able to see a lot of green. Now, my mom wouldn't put all of this in. I just may. Because I think this dish is made by parsley. There's a handful left. I'll leave it. So I basically put almost a whole bunch of parsley in here. So now I'm going to grab my salt. Now, remember, I've told you guys 1,000 times, I use sea salt. Sea salt is not strong. So I'm going to put a tablespoon of sea salt. And it might actually need more. If you're using table salt, maybe put a half, maybe a teaspoon, and then when it's in the oven, after a couple of hours, because this has to be in the oven for approximately 2 to 3 hours. So maybe at the 2-hour mark, you can taste the sauce, or you can taste the bean and see if it needs more salt. Which, even though I'm using sea salt, I'm going to do that as well. So I'm just going to sprinkle the tablespoon of salt everywhere. Okay. And put that aside so we know we've already used it. Now we've got pepper. Again, pepper is to taste. I'm just going to put in a couple of pinches, huge pinches. Okay. Ground black pepper. I've got a full cup of olive oil. Just pour it in. Shake the cup and get everything out. Grab a napkin. Excuse me, that's the pepper. Pepper in my nose, pepper in my nose. So now we've got, the only thing left is the tomato paste and the crushed tomatoes and water. So, I'm opening up the crushed tomatoes. Great. So I went to pull off, I think this has happened to me before on video. I pulled up the tab, the ring, and I went to pull and the ring snapped off. So you can't pull this can open. So I need to pull up the electric can opener. Sorry about that. But these things happen. What can you do? So I'm just gonna move the pan for a second. Make room. Alrighty. So, it's good to have a can opener standing by for emergency's sake. I always have it I have a cupboard on top of my sink, and that's where I have my scale, my chopper, my can opener, and the tab thing broke off. So now we need to open this with the electric can opener. So, give me a second. Alrighty. Okay. Cap goes in the garbage. Alrighty. So, pour the tomatoes, the ground tomatoes, right into your pan with everything else. And like you've seen me do 1,000 times, Mami exgalto, sorry, I need to ask my mom something in Greek. Mami exgalto labi. Okay, so this is tomato paste that's been storing in my fridge, and it's got the olive oil on top so that it can preserve it. So I need to spill out the olive oil. And I've actually put my finger in the can with the tomato paste so I can feel the olive oil coming out. And it's pretty much out. And if there's a little bit, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to grab my spoon. Okay. Grab a heaping, like really heaping, tablespoon. Throw it in your empty ground tomato can. Push it off the spoon with your fingers. And if you don't get it all off, it's okay, don't worry. And now we need water. And remember, I've told you guys this before. That was my oven telling us that it's been preheated. So throw water into your empty can that now has tomato paste in it. Whoops. And let's stir it up. Whoops, I just threw a bean in there. That's okay. Stir it up. And I'm doing it over the pan, so if any water falls, you know, it's falling into the pan with all our ingredients. And some is stuck onto my spoon, so I just pushed it back off. And I'm going to stir and smush again. I'm trying to dissolve it as much as possible. It's not, I've told you guys this before, it's not going to completely dissolve. I just spilled out a little bit of water into my ingredients, and I'm going to stick my hand in Here's the bean that fell in. And I'm sticking my hand into the can with the water and I'm smushing the tomato paste as much as I can. It may not dissolve all. See? Okay, that's good enough. Throw the water in. Give me a second, I need to rinse off my hands. We've got about a can of water in here. That isn't enough. Okay, so I'm gonna, I don't think this has a can's worth. Let's see. Over the pan with the ingredients, because we don't care if we get more than a can. Yeah, that's not a can. Ugh. Okay. Like I said, I'm over the pan with the ingredients and I'm filling up the can with water. And it's spilled more than a can in, which is fine. Okay, I've put in 2 cans. Now we're going to stir this all up and decide if we want more water. I want you to give this a good stir now. I want everything to mix up. Tomatoes, onion, 2 types of onions, parsley, salt, oil, water. And I can already tell that this needs more water. This is going to be in the oven for like 3 hours. Remember. This is called, in Greek it's called Gigantes Plaki, which is the traditional way of making this dish. There are other versions. I have a recipe for this with celery and carrots. I have a recipe that actually has meat in it. But this is your most traditional way of making it. And Greeks seem to like this with fish on the side for some reason. But we all eat it plain too, just with nice bread. So I'm adding in a 3rd can. And I'm going to add in a 4th can. Whoops, my spoon just fell in. Let's see if we can find it. I heard it. Eventually we'll find, there it is. Okay, let's give it another stir. Now it's easier to stir up because there's more water. This should look, like I said, this should look green. From all the green onions and the parsley, it should look green. So just by stirring it all up, you're distributing the salt, the pepper everywhere, the oil everywhere, and all the ingredients. Now, I'm going to add more water. Because I know I can. Because I have the experience. So I'm going to add in more water. So I think this is our, what did we say, 5th can, I think. 5 and 6 is good enough. Because we're going to check on this later. There you go. So we've got 6 cans. By the way, the tomato, the crushed tomatoes we're using is a 14-ounce can. This is good. Okay. This has to bake up for about approximately 2 to 3 hours. 2 hours is a must. At 2 hours, you're going to check it. It should have sauce. It should have, it should be a little saucy. And it shouldn't have too much water. But even if it does, believe me, the beans will absorb it as it cools it down. You're going to test the vegetables, like the onions, make sure they're tender. And then you're going to test the beans and make sure they're melting in your mouth. So this is baked lima beans. In Greek, we said Gigantes Plaki. So I'm going to put it in the oven and I will come back and show you the final result. So, or maybe I should, okay, let me just put it in the oven. Let's bless the food. Yeah, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I'm going to open up the oven. I'm baking at 350, uncovered, and it's a little heavy, so be careful. Ooh. Okay, hold on because it's heavy. I'm baking lower level. If your hands are not steady, like mine are not, see, I have to take a rest now on the oven door before I lift and put in. You know, get somebody to put it in for you. It's a little heavy. So here we go again. A lift. And onto the, oh, for God's sakes. Onto the rack. And there's our food in the oven. Oh, sorry guys, but that was a little heavy. And we're gonna set our timer for 2 hours.
1 hour, 2 hours.
Press start. And it's working because we pressed the minute button and nothing happens. So our food is in the oven for 2 hours. We're gonna check at the 2 hour mark, see if our sauce, sorry guys, that took a lot out of me. You know, like I said, see how much liquid is left, see what the beans taste like. You have to go by taste. And you know what? Sighted people may see the sauce all nice and, you know, thick and, you know, I don't know what to call it, mushy or something, the sauce. But they're still going to taste the bean because the bean might not be ready. And they might have to add, if their water level is almost gone, they might have to add water. So regardless whether you're sighted or blind, you need to check on this at the 2 hour mark. So the recipe is time consuming in the sense that you're going to wait for it to bake 2 to 3 hours. It's also cutting up all the vegetables. So if it takes you an hour to cut up all the vegetables, an hour to boil up the beans, you can boil the beans while you're cutting up your vegetables. 10 minutes, whatever, 5-10 minutes to put everything in the pan. Put it in the oven. Set your timer for 2 hours. I don't know, go take a bath. Go vacuum the house. Go do something. You don't have to worry about it for 2 hours. So, I will see you with the final result. Okay, boys and girls, we're back. So I'm taking the food out of the oven and I will explain to you guys all my findings. So this is very hot, as we said, and it's very heavy. So go slow, like I am. Okay, let me turn. Alrighty, and let me just turn off the oven. All right, these beans were good, meaning you usually need about 2 to 3 hours. I checked at the 1 hour and 45 minutes. No, sorry, 1 hour and 50 minutes. The beans were done, but the sauce wasn't to my liking. So I turned the heat up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and I let it bake for another 15 minutes. It could have taken 3 hours. I added enough water that I didn't have to add more water, but these beans happen to cook up faster than usual. Like I said, this usually takes me about 2.5 to 3 hours. That's why you go by taste. I'm just going to, I have a spoon right here. So if I just wiggle it around with the spoon, you can kind of see it's got liquid. The beans are going to absorb this. They're going to absorb this. These beans are now melt in your mouth. The vegetables are tender. The sauce is nice. And you would just serve this on a plate with some bread. If you're not vegan or you're not fasting and you want to have a little bit of meat, that's fine too. Yeah. So again, this has no real, I can't say to you guys definitely, I mean, I can honestly say definitely 2 hours in the oven. Mine took 2 hours and 5 minutes with me increasing the heat for the last 15 minutes to 400 because I tested the beans and they were to my liking. They were very soft and melt in your mouth, and that's how they should be. And this will thicken up as it sits, maybe even to the point of almost no liquid. So yeah, that's our dish. I hope I explained it well. I just want to mention again, if I didn't, I think I did, but it's Gigantes Plaki. That's the name of it in Greek. And for you guys, Greek style baked lima beans. And for those who are blind, just after the introduction of my show, you will hear my voice announcing the recipe. The name of the recipe in English and Greek, and the sighted people will actually see the finished product before we even start the recipe. And I'm going to do that from now on for all my videos. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. I hope you make it. It's absolutely delicious. So I will see you on our next episode. A blind kiss to you, and definitely to you. See you guys. Bye. I am your host, Zoe Fiogos. With sincere love and gratitude, I thank you for watching Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner.